All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a video that proposes a really specific and, let's be honest, a highly unconventional dietary strategy for managing advanced colon cancer. It's a pretty complex idea, so let's just dive right in. So, the whole thing kicks off with this really powerful idea, and this sets the stage, right? It frames diet as way more than just supportive care. It's positioned as a central battleground, a tool you can actively use to fight cancer cells. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. First, we'll look at the core strategy. Then we'll dive into cancer's supposed weakness. After that, we'll break down the 4 alleged root causes, get into the nitty-gritty of the diet protocol itself, and finally wrap it all up with a very important critical perspective. All right, first things first, let's really get to the heart of this thing. What's the big idea they're putting forward? So, you see, the core idea here isn't as simple as just starving cancer of, say, sugar. No, the goal is to create this constantly changing environment, almost like a metabolic battlefield, that's so unpredictable these supposedly inflexible cancer cells just can't keep up. The whole point is to keep them guessing, to keep them completely off balance. Okay, so that's the what. But what about the why? What's the biological theory that this whole strategy hinges on? Let's dig in. So, according to the source video, this all starts with our mitochondria. You know, the little power plants inside our cells. The claim is that when they get damaged, a cell is forced to switch back to this really old, inefficient survival mode called glycolysis. And this thing has a voracious appetite for one thing, glucose. And this right here is the absolute key. It's what the entire strategy targets. See, your healthy cells, they're incredibly flexible. They can switch fuels on a dime, they can burn sugar, they can burn fat, whatever. But the argument here is that cancer cells, they lose that flexibility. They become rigid, almost totally dependent on glucose, and that, in theory, is their big weakness. So that leads to the next logical question, right? What supposedly causes this damage to the mitochondria in the first place? Well, the video points to 4 main root causes. Yup, 4 of them. And the idea is that these are chronic issues, things that build up over years and years and create what's described as the perfect storm for cancer to develop. And here they are. According to the source, these are kind of like the 4 horsemen of mitochondrial damage. You've got chronic insulin resistance, just flooding the body with sugar, chronic inflammation, a messed up gut microbiome, and then long-term exposure to toxins. All of these are fingered as the culprits that lay the groundwork. Okay, so now we get to the how-to part, the actual strategy. It's a 3-phase rotating diet that's designed to hit that metabolic inflexibility we just talked about. So, the way this works is a cycle of 3 totally different dietary phases that you just keep repeating. And the thinking behind this is pretty clever, right? Just when the cancer cells might be getting used to one thing, boom, the rules change. You're basically pulling the rug out from under them over and over again. All right, let's look at phase 1. And wow, this one is intense. For 3 to 5 days, it's a diet that mimics fasting. We're talking super low calories, super low protein, super low fat. And the logic here is interesting. It's not just about cutting off sugar, it's about cutting off everything, including the fats and ketones some cancer cells might try to use as a backup fuel. Okay, so after that really tough starvation phase, everything flips on its head for phase 2. For the next week or 2, it's all about nourishing and supporting the body, especially the colon. It brings back moderate amounts of protein and healthy fats and focuses on specific foods that are highlighted for their supportive compounds. And then, just before you start the cycle all over again, there's one more twist, phase 3. Here, you ramp up the protein intake pretty significantly for a few days while keeping the carbs low. Again, the goal is to throw another curveball, create a totally different metabolic environment, and stop those cancer cells from ever getting comfortable. Now, this whole protocol isn't just about the rotating diet. The source video also recommends a whole list of other things to support the process. We're talking high-dose vitamin D3, zinc, omega-3s, lots of compounds from things like turmeric and green tea, plus a big emphasis on veggies, and even getting more oxygen through exercise and sunlight. Okay, we've gone through the whole strategy. Now comes maybe the most important part of this entire explainer, putting all of this into perspective. Where does an idea like this fit in with, standard medical cancer treatment? And looking at them side by side like this, it's absolutely vital. On one hand, you have this protocol, which is based on theories about how cancer cells eat. It's presented as a primary way to fight cancer. On the other hand, you have standard medical oncology, We're talking chemo, immunotherapy, treatments that have gone through years of rigorous, large-scale clinical trials. In that world, nutrition is crucial, but it's seen as supportive care to help you stay strong enough for treatment. It's just, they're built on fundamentally different types of evidence. Look, the speaker in the original video puts up a disclaimer, and we have to hammer this point home. What we're talking about today is for informational purposes. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Seriously, you absolutely have to talk to your doctor, to your whole medical team, before even thinking about making changes like this. And really, that brings us to the most important question of all. This whole idea, it shouldn't be seen as some kind of secret answer. Think of it more as a catalyst for a really important conversation with your healthcare provider. The real question, the one you should be asking your doctor, is this one. How can nutrition best support your unique, comprehensive, and medically supervised cancer treatment plan?